Hello and welcome back to our fam today with another special video. Today we're going to be talking about another Nomad release that's perfect for the weather that we're currently experiencing throughout the world, except for if you live under the equator where it might be turning into summer very soon. Still, Nomad Singapore can be used especially for our people out there in Southeast Asia. I really hope I did a good job in capturing the scent of Singapore when I experienced it. I actually lived in Singapore with my family for 6 to 7 months in 2011. We were there, my dad was getting treated for cancer at the National Singapore Center, and during those 6 months, minus the hospital visits, there were a lot of memories my family and I created with our dad. Throughout Singapore, so certain things have been highlighted. So one example would be Singapore's famous, or rather not Singapore's famous, but something from that region, a kaffir lime. So a kaffir lime is this very, it has this very tart quality to it that you'll sense in the note, in the fragrance note here, in the fragrance of Singapore. There's a note of durian. Now, durian's a fruit that is native to Singapore, I believe, but it's actually a fruit that's known in Southeastern Asia to help with cancer cells and stuff like that. So it was a fruit my dad used to eat a lot. It's very gooey, it smells very nice and tart, and it smells very juicy. So, I would like prepare it for him. So very well aware of that scent and captured that scent into the fragrance as well. So show you guys the bottle. So as usual, super clean presentation. We just keep it super clean for Nomad. That right there is the Merlion from Singapore, famous at Merlion Park, one of the most famous monuments in Singapore. So if you ever look up Singapore, you'll see it, Merlion Park, the Merlion across Singapore. So if you've ever been to Singapore, I'm sure you've been to Merlion Park. The bottle, as usual, rests like that. We have a purple tint to the juice. That's to match the purple coloring of Merlion on the bottle and on the box. You can see the usual Nomad presentation on the top. Boom, same old setup, the way all the Nomad series has been. We've had 2 so far, Paris and Miami, the one that started it all. I'm gonna go ahead and spray it. So here we go. Immediately you're hit with that limey tart. Then there's an apple strudel accord in here that is very prominent. Apple strudel being because it's a very soft dessert, and as my dad was he was deteriorating as he was, sick, very sick. We would give him apple strudel because he really liked apples, but he couldn't just eat the raw apples anymore because his systems were weakening. So it would be the apple strudel that he would get. So I would just go out in Singapore market and hunt the best apple strudels, the softest, the most creamiest, the most decadent apple strudel, so that we can get it to him, so he can enjoy a little bit. So an apple strudel accord is very prominent through and throughout the entire composition. You'll love it. It's actually very sweet. It's the lime, which is very tart, the kaffir lime, helps with the durian's tanginess, right? And then you got the apple strudel accord, which is sitting beneath it but breathing through both of those. The apple strudel actually keeps everything very sweet and very warm and cozy, right? So it creates a very calm kind of a feeling, if you want to call it, very cozy. So perfect for the weather we're in. Then as it starts drying down, it hasn't come out yet, but I know the fragrance very well, it will come out. So we've used a saffron tea note in here, and the way we've done the saffron tea note is we've actually seeped saffron tea into the alcohol directly, infused into it, and it seeped into the alcohol for over 6 months, over the earlier part of this year, and then it was filtered and tincturized, and that's the alcohol used in the fragrance itself. So there's no actual alcohol, it's a tinctured alcohol, if you want to call it, of saffron tea leaves. So see, there it is, the hint of that spiced tea accord is just starting to show itself just beneath all that apple strudel and all that sweetness and tartness up top. So as the fragrance will progress, it's obviously not down, it's going to be further into the dry down. There's a green tobacco leaves accord. Now, why green tobacco leaves? So obviously during the time my dad was sick, I would be very stressed out. So I made a few friends who I'd hang out with at night, just to kind of relax, and we just talk about life and future plans. This is really hard, guys. It's bringing back a lot of memories of my dad and everything we went through. But dang, I was not expecting this kind of memories to flourish, but I thought it was going to be pretty smooth. But regardless, I will get through this because it is about Singapore and it's about the beautiful memories. So I would actually smoke cigarettes with those friends that I had made. However, my dad once asked me, have you been smoking? And I'm like, oh, no. He's like, well, you better not be smoking. Just because I'm sick here doesn't mean you just get to smoke. So I was like, okay. So I still wanted to smoke because I just still wanted to do something. I was 24 at the time. I had just turned 24. So I actually asked a friend that, hey, can I get one of those traditional pipes instead of, a cigarette? Because then my hand stinks, my dad smells my hand and then he gets pissed. So I don't want to piss him off. So the traditional tobacco through pipe that they would smoke in Singapore was this green tobacco leaves, and not the traditional brown that I had always seen. I was still 24, so my nose wasn't as developed, but I remember that aroma very distinctly. It was a very spicy green, kind of an herbaceous, herbal, minty-ish, borderline kind of an aroma, and we captured that note in here. See, it's deep rooted between underneath all the apple and the opening sweetness, but the spices, there's a spice bazaar accord, which I'll tell you a story about, which I'm smelling more right now, but that tobacco with that spice bazaar accord, as you start smelling it, is going to be like, it's not going to be a burnt tobacco by any means, it's just going to be a very green, subtle undertone amongst these spices. The spices is actually a spice bazaar accord. So Dad had a really good friend there was actually helping us out navigate through all the hospital systems to make sure we get the best doctors and everything for Dad. He actually was known as the spice king of Singapore. He had a huge wholesale trading of spice business. So the first time I actually went to his warehouse, I was hit. I still remember that smell very distinctly. I was hit with this aroma of just walking into a spice bazaar, and I asked him, like, it smells so spicy in here, what is it? He was like, oh, it's cumin, there's cloves, we trade cumin, we trade cloves, and a bunch of other spices, right? Like cloves, cumins. If I remember correctly, there were a few more that we've used in the accord. I would have to look up the formula, obviously, but cloves and cumins were two of the main spices that were coming together. And that was actually the first time I've ever smelled cloves or cumins, right? So that vibe of entering into a spice bazaar in the middle, in the oriental markets of East Asian countries, almost like, Singapore, Malaysia, almost the same vibe. Hong Kong, China, South Korea, all of these places start differentiating a little bit, but that region, Indonesia, Burma, Malaysia, Singapore, they all kind of are built around the same smell genre. So anyone from that region can definitely relate to this fragrant that we've created with Nomad Singapore. You're gonna love it. It's actually very unique. It's a very warm, cozy, happy, no, I wouldn't say happy, but it will make you feel cozy. So yes, you will feel happy, but it's a very warm, fuzzy, feel good kind of a fragrance. And I really hope, I wouldn't say this is what Singapore smells like at all. Singapore is actually a very tropical country, so very mossy, very damp kind of a smell in Singapore's earth itself. But this basically captured the journey of my 6 months living in Singapore when I was 24 years old, and everything I remember from that time. So hope you guys will enjoy this video. This is a very hard video. As you can see, I'm not my usual self. Things aren't flowing. I'm like lost a little bit. I'm fixing my glasses a little bit too much. I'm doing too much, gulping a little bit to just keep all the emotions in. So this was actually a very hard video to do. So I genuinely hope you guys enjoy it, and I hope you guys will give us some love on Black Friday with Nomad Singapore. Do give it a try. I hope you guys will love it. Raza signing out. An emotional Raza this time.